Hey guys, it's Todd with Project 9 Life. Welcome to Personal Development Hacks. We got another special guest for you guys. And we kind of focus on helping you guys get off of the autopilot life and start living your best life. So I'll bring our guest in now. This is Jared. Hi, Jared.
How's it going, Todd?
I'm
Thanks for having
well.
me on.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
Excellent. So, for the audience out there that doesn't know you or kind of know anything about you, just go ahead and take a few minutes and introduce yourself and what you got
Sure.
going on.
Sure. So I'm a real estate investor by trade. Even though I was an investor 5 years ago, I used to work at Walmart. I learned how to start investing in real estate without using my own money or credit, which is pretty awesome. Um, and I've been doing that for 6+ years, give or take. And this last year, me and my wife have been spending a lot of time helping other people do the same thing that we have been able to do, and plug it in the same system that taught us. And it's been a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, obviously that's great that you, not that there's anything wrong with Walmart, but the fact that
Right.
you got out of Walmart and, kind of started to create your own living was there like a moment specifically when you're like, I gotta leave, like I gotta get out of this, or was it just kind of a culmination of, hey Jared, you're better than being a greeter or whatever you're,
Right.
I don't even know what you're doing.
I was an amazing greeter. What are you talking about? No, I'm just kidding. No.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, there was a moment of like something had to change, because I was actually at Walmart for 12 years. So it wasn't just like a summer job or anything like that. It was, I thought of it as my career, because I was in salary member management. So I was working 60 to 70 hours a week. When it was holidays or like inventory, I was there sometimes 80 hours a week. So it was just kind of crazy. Sleep was overrated, apparently. So the moment that really kind of flipped the switch for me is when my wife got pregnant with a third child. So there's an 8-year gap between child number 2 and child number 3. And I remembered everything that I missed from my first 2 kids, because I was always at the store. Like every holiday, I was there. I was working evenings, I'd work overnights, and it was just like every awesome moment of my kid's life, I'd missed it. And so when wife got pregnant with our third child, Jasmine, it was a paradigm shift. Like I didn't want that to continue to happen. I remembered like all of those moments, kind of like flooding back. Like, wow, I have a great opportunity with this, with my brand new child, and I don't want to miss all those experiences anymore. So I knew something had to change. I didn't know what. I knew how to get out of Walmart. I mean, real estate was not even on my radar whatsoever, because I thought you had to have $1 million in the bank, perfect credit. I had neither one. So it was definitely not even remotely close to anything I was thinking of. So I actually started to go back to school. So I was going to school full time because I want to be a psychiatrist. That didn't pan out, which I'm kind of glad that didn't. But yeah, then that was the moment, right? I can continue on, but I don't want to, to answer your question.
No, it's from my perspective, it sounds like, you know, unbeknownst to you at the moment that it happened, but when your wife and you guys, you had pregnant and you started thinking about like
Yeah,
the times that you missed and stuff like that, inadvertently or on purpose, you found your why that you needed
yeah,
to make a change. Like you found your, deep core like belief of I've missed some stuff with kid 1 and 2. I'm not going to do that again. And that becomes your one of your core values, what drives you to, obviously it made a change from going from Walmart into real estate.
yeah,
Uh, Obviously your schedule is different. You're able to attend
for
those
sure.
things, and create memories, because that's ultimately, I think, what, regardless of if it's parent or spouse or friend or whatever, we're people remember the memories that are created together, not like what we're making or whatever, and whatever status, whatever car we're driving or
Yeah,
anything like that. Like
right.
no one remembers that. They do remember though like those things that you valued, and spending that time with your daughter and watching her, you know, grow,
Yeah.
that thing, and relishing in those things that you may have missed the first time around.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was, and it wasn't an overnight thing. So to get to transition from being from working at a retail store to being self-employed it did take me about a year to kind of get that squared away and making enough money as a real estate investor. And but my relationship with my kids now that it's been 5 years since I actually left Walmart, because it's been 6 years with this whole journey, but 5 years since I left Walmart, give or take. My relationship with my daughter is way different than my relationship was back with my other two kids. I mean, now obviously I've been able to spend more time with my other two kids too. So our relationships as a whole having been better overall. But my daughter, she's always used to dad being around. Like I mean, sure, I go out there and make offers on properties and check on my flips or whatever it is, but the whole like relationship we have is way different, and she has a different mindset too. For her, it's normal. Let's go look at dad's properties. It's very normal for her to have, oh yeah, we have lots of properties. So what? Yeah, that's like normal. And even with my older kids, it's helped them too. So my son that's 17, he wants to make more money. So he's been flipping clothes. He buys clothes at the Salvation Army, and then anything that has a good label looks good, he'll just sell it online. My daughter has an Etsy store, and so they've gotten a different relationship just with money, just in general, because of what me and my wife have been able to do this past short period of time. I mean, so it's been dramatically changed our whole mindset of our family and how we look at things, how we look at finances, just in general, and it's incredible. Like people just use the word life changing too broadly, I think.
Right.
But when I say it was like dramatically life changing, not just for mine, but for my entire family, it's been amazing.
Yeah, and that's great that you're, like you're saying, like not only is it, your youngest, but other kids getting
Right.
involved, and obviously they're a little bit older, and so they're kind of taking, you know in terms of the finance side of it, they're already realizing that you don't truly gain your freedom by trading hours for dollars.
That's right.
It's doing things like the clothes flipping and an Etsy store, and
Mhm.
obviously real estate and stuff like that. But the fact that they've seen the change that you and your wife have made, and the impact that it's had on the family as a whole, and now
Yeah.
they're embracing it, and who knows how long or wherever that path is going to take them, but at least they started off with an understanding that you know gone are the days of go to high school, go to college, get a degree, go to work for some big company, work
Yeah.
there for 35 years, retire at 65, get your gold watch and your 401k, and you know, then you retire. It's
Yeah.
like that that's no longer the narrative of what kids, especially like you said. I mean, my son's 18. He just turned 18, my daughter's 16, and they're already same kind of thing. Like, I mean, my son's chasing his baseball dream. Good for
Nice.
him. Like, I mean, as far as he wants to take that,
Yeah.
it's I told him, I said, look, you're going to play as long as you want, and it's going to be either your body tells you you're done or a coach tells you you're done. But
Right.
other than that, you just keep playing. But already the understanding of, like, when they get to the work side, they don't neither of them want to go work in an office, or work for, like you said, 60, 70 hours a week and
Right.
stuff like that. It's like there's other ways to create your own living. Now, something interesting that you brought up was, even though it was like 6 years that you kind of realized this and started the path, but then it was
Mhm.
another year until you actually left. And
Yeah.
just kind of walk us through, like, what was that year spent doing?
Whew. Um, that was when that was when I probably worked the hardest in my entire life, because when I first started this, so I got connected with this group that taught me how to do all this stuff because I didn't know any of this stuff at all. So I was able to find some mentors, people that were doing the things I wanted to do. They would have like kind of masterminds and networking events, and I would go to every single one I possibly could. But uh, at the very beginning, I was still going to school, full 18 credit hours at school, and I was working the 60 hours, 60 70 hours a week. So, and 18 credit hours sounds more impressive than it really was. I had a lot of easy classes. So I took a lot of bird classes to get there. So it sounds more impressive than it really is.
Yeah, like
But
right sports and outdoor ed. I got you.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, my senior year, I had both of those. So
Yeah, exactly. So I took the very base of a lot of stuff. I can just, kind of busy work, but it didn't take a lot of mental energy. So I can do it if I was like dead tired. But so I would only have maybe 30 minutes a day that I can kind of put towards my real estate journey. Because there's in any journey, there's a season of learning. And what people miss out on when they start the season of learning, oh, I want to do this XYZ brand new thing, and they're frustrated because a month or 2 months in, they're working on it, but nothing's really happening. Either because one of those two things happen, they're still in the season of learning, they still got to learn more, or they just don't want to put in the work and they're not actually taking action. Sometimes they're getting, analysis paralysis, they say. So I was in that season of learning, and it was just spending 30 minutes a day of just educating myself. It was just constantly learning and then applying what I learned, because we had like these online classes I was watching. And as I watched a class, I'd go do something about that class just to get into my thick brain because I didn't really do well in school, even though I was going to school at the time. So I just took action. I did a net time, as Tony Robbins says, no extra time. So I'll be listening to podcasts and books while I was working at Walmart. But I was instead of a walkie-talkie, I just had my Bluetooth set in.
Mhm.
So the whole store could have been on fire. I wouldn't have known it. I would have known. I my because I was just one level underneath the store manager, and he's like, Jared, why didn't you answer the call? Like, oh, sorry, dude, my walkie must be dead. He in that course of that year gave me like 3 new walkies because they kept on not working.
Right.
So I'm not suggesting people to do stuff like that because I don't want to get fired. But for me, I already knew my vision, what I was going to be. So I mean, my give a crap, which wasn't working at that time.
Yeah.
And so it was just utilizing every spare moment. My car was a university on wheels. I was listening to things. I was making phone calls while I was in the car, and I had to have my family's buy-in too of this is what we're working towards, And we even did, because everyone talks about vision boards, but we I created achievement boards. So when dad hit his certain goals, that they would put on the board what they wanted. So this is their prize for me getting my goals. So then I had instant buy-in. At the time, my other 2 kids were, so there was like, she was 10 and the other one was 12, I think, at the time. So oh, cool, great. I got a brand new bike if dad buys his first property. And so I would get the point. I would get home and like, Dad, did you make any money? Did you do your thing? And so they were 100% on board because we had that achievement board, and the achievements were for them just supporting me. So that was nice to have the family buy-in. And so in addition to the achievement board, it was just constant effort that I got our first transaction 6 months in. So 6 months of working on it and not really seeing any fruits. If anything, I've spent money on leads, spent money on education and everything. And so all the money was leaving and nothing came in. And my first deal 6 months in, that's the one deal I lost money on, which I didn't have money to lose. And so that was like almost my last deal. We bought a fourplex, not getting too deep in the woods with it, but we bought a fourplex. It was a out-of-state purchase. I did a lot of things that even people are teaching me told me not to do, but I did anyways because I thought I was smart enough. I got educated real quick.
Yeah.
And then we lost. So we wired the management company that was managing it for us our last 10 grand to do the repairs that needed to get these other 2 units up and running because it was a fourplex. 2 months later, that company went out of business. They just pooped and they didn't make any repairs, nothing. And if there was like fraudulent people coming in saying they were my management company to my tenants. And so my tenants were paying some random dudes. And so it was a fiasco. And eventually we got it turned around. We started a cash flow, and then I did some. I need to get some massive income. So we did some flips. And so at that point, the by the end of that year, that fourplex was eventually cash flowing. We had a good property management company. We got the repairs taken care of, and we had like we did 2 flips there, and we had like 3 more in the pipeline. And so I had more than a year's worth of salary in the bank, which was surreal. Like I honestly was, because it was such a mind, when I get like almost 70 grand sitting in the bank, it's like, is the cops coming? Like, I'm just like, is this legal? Are we good? Like,
Yeah.
I go to the teller, like, is that right? That says the same amount, right? It's still the same. Okay. No one asked any questions.
Yeah. Yeah. How much of this are you putting on hold right now?
Yeah, exactly. Can I get, if I just wanted to pull the whole thing, could I, can I just like put it on my mattress, So it was kind of like almost like what's the expression? Imposter syndrome, like, cause it just felt so surreal. And my wife, being the great supporter she was like, great. Well, not only do we have enough money to last us another year, if not more, if we had to, we still have these other ones that are coming in that we just started, and another 2 more in the way. It's time for you to go full time. And so I did. I called in my boss and I said, Sean, you're fired. And he's like, Jared, you can't fire me. I'm like, we fired to be my boss. So that was a very terrifying moment. But that was that year, man. I mean, it was like from the get-go, it was just like learning, a lot of excitement, a lot of ups and downs, losing money. I had a hair before I started. It all fell out. No, I was bald before, but still, it was still worth it though. I'm glad we went through the hell to get to the heaven.
Well, and the valuable lesson, and I'm glad you went through it in such great detail, because I think a lot of people, when they get to that stage where it's either they feel like they're on autopilot and they want to do something else and they don't know how, or if they feel just stuck because I've got income coming in and I've got responsibility and how am I going to do this? That's the important lesson, is you don't have to just quit right off the gate.
Oh yeah, no way.
You can take your time in learning a new skill, learning what you're passionate about. I mean, that sounds, I mean, just hearing you talk, you took the real estate route because it's like, that's a true passion of yours. It wasn't like, well, it's the top of the bucket, so let's just take this one off and go with this.
Right.
But so if you find those things, it's giving yourself that year, because what you want to do is, if this is your current level of income and here's your, other income that you're not making yet, you don't really want to make a move until you get that other income that replaces at least what you're currently making. And at that point, then you can freely leave your full-time job, because you've got that new job, that new self-employed, that entrepreneur, that whatever ultimately it is, that replaces what you had. Plus, as that was growing, hopefully you weren't dumb about it and you were able to take some of that money and create yourself a year's salary of kind of like, this is in the bank. So, I know I can replace it, and that's great. If we get a little bit tight because one month is worse than the other, we've got that. And then all of a sudden that year's worth becomes 2. And then all of a sudden, like, if you're good at what you're doing and you're passionate about it, then you grow and you get better at it. And for the same amount of effort, you start making like 2 times what you were making, or 3 or 5 or whatever that ultimately that number is. And that's when your fruits of that decision all come in, because you don't have to quit. But if you want to do something else, you need to first figure out like why is my inspiration? Why is this important to me, that I get out of autopilot, get out of working 60 and 70 hours a week? And good for you that you found it. Because now it's, then once you make that decision, the fact that you shared it with your family, and I tell people all the time, like, share whatever if they are part of your inspiration, it is important that you share that with them, because it automatically, it lets them know that you care about their well-being and what involves them. It puts all members of your family directly on your team, and they'll create their own stuff out of it, obviously with, achievement boards. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're like, how many bikes do we need this
Yeah.
time around?
Oh, they would have different things. There would be all sorts of stuff. Yeah, coming up with what to put on the achievement board wasn't the challenge. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No, and the thing is, like, as people that are looking to, like, okay, I do want to make that change, right? And for me, it was a weird world coming from just being employed, or just retail in general, to being self-employed entrepreneur. Because sure, like, I can hustle and just, when on my days off, and when I'm off, I can do that stuff around there. But when you get to the point where you're not working, I thought as soon as I quit, I thought I was going to triple my income. Like, I thought, okay, great. I put in, you know, 10 hours a week doing this business, and I made more than my year salary. I thought I was just going to, okay, great. I'll just work 40 hours and, like, just kill it. The thing was that didn't happen. It wasn't, not even remotely close. If anything, I may have gone down a little bit, because, and it's maybe hard for me to explain, but I didn't have that push, like, because you're changing your whole routine 100%. I didn't have an hour to get up. I didn't have a certain, the first 2 weeks after I quit, my wife looked at me and she's like, "Are you on vacation or something? You're not doing anything." I'm like, yeah, you're right. I really haven't done anything, have I?" And it was just like, so, I mean, thank goodness I have that wife to support me and also to kick my butt when I need it. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
God. That is, like, for me personally, being the efficient person I am, or people like to call me lazy, but being efficient, um, that is, it's definitely needed. And so, not having that routine, and then not, having that clear vision, I really didn't make as that much more than I did on year two. Year three, that's when it really, like, started to pick up like crazy, because that's when I finally got into the routine. I set up I have accountability partners that I worked with, and it was just a lot of things to get me going. And then, as you're saying, that's when you get the point where it's like, now your craft, your skills are dramatically increased now that you kind of pull yourself out of, you know, get the right routines, the right systems, and then you're really going to learn. And so then I've been putting in half the effort to get twice the results. And that's when the magic really starts to happen. That's when you really get the steam rolling happening, and just amazing things can happen. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and that, I think that's, I'm glad you said that. That's because I think that's a big misconception of, like, people that go from whatever it is,
Yeah.
hourly, hourly, but whatever, their schedule is set by
Yeah.
someone else, right? Get in at this time, leave at this time. And they think that, well, when I'm self-employed, I get to make my own schedule. And when I first made the leap from, having a set schedule to not,
Right.
similar to you, it was because I got sick of watching my kids' baseball and softball games on this,
Yeah.
and just, like, it was like a pong game. And so that was my inspiration. But I learned pretty quickly. It took me like about 2 months to figure out, like, if I'm going to do this right, I actually, and now is, I'm a example of it. Like, I'm more organized and more structured with what I'm doing and when now, that I don't work for anyone else than I was when I did work for someone else. Because,
Yeah.
it's with, podcasts and, stuff that I'm doing with social and videos and, continuing to improve programs and stuff like that. Like, I can't just willy-nilly that stuff. Like, I have to have a set time. Like, I have a set
Right.
schedule. Like, this is what I'm posting every single week, and this is what I'm focused on with getting this program going or reaching out to these people and stuff like that. And you're right, though, as you get into it, it's like it's when you're doing it and you're doing it right, which is to help other people out.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you start to attract. It's amazing, just like the opportunities that show up, and you're like, where did you come from? I have no idea. And they
So
do.
true.
And they
Yeah.
do. because your confidence is higher. You're just attracting a different type of person or a different element that can see that, and they just all of a sudden you kind of create this little gravitational field in yourself that people seek out because they don't know why, but they're like, I'm gonna, yeah, this, I got an opportunity, he looks like he can make me have this work for me, and off you go. So
Yeah.
But before we go any further, so if you guys out there, if you are on autopilot and you want more out of your life, you want to start living your best life, certainly we can help you. Just go to go.project9life.com. It's a complimentary phone call. It's just kind of a get to know you call. We'll figure out where you're at, where you want to go, and then how we can help get you there. It's a complimentary call again, but take advantage of it. So, and then for our friend Jared here, he's got it in his name and now it's on there as well. So just tell people how they can get a hold of you and kind of what Ask Jared Now is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ask Jared Now, it's just a way to contact me, right? So if you're wondering, if you're in that grind and you want to see if maybe real estate could be a potential path for you, then let's have a 9-minute conversation and see if it is, because it might not be, but you won't know until you find out. So that's something that call would be specifically, is this right for you? You don't have to have $1 million in the bank or perfect credit. If you have both of those, that'll help for sure, but you don't have to have those things, which is pretty cool. So it may or may not be right for you, but let's have that conversation, and you can just book a call with me, and then we can have a conversation and see what your goals are. And if we can help you get there, awesome.
Cool. Yeah, very cool. And that's one of the things that from our initial talk and obviously kind of hanging out with you here, like one of the most impressive things, like as far as me about you, is you did it because you got out of Walmart and into doing this for the right reason. And you've been very successful at it. And the fact that now it's almost like chapter 2 of this is, you got out of that. Your family is doing well. You're doing it for yourself and for them.
Yeah.
But now your chapter 2 is now turning around and saying, how can I help other people who might be living the same life that I was?
Yeah.
I made the decision to make this change, because all it does, it's like the most successful people out there. They're the first people, like yourself, like me. It's based on my personal experience. Here's the book. This worked for me. It's here.
Right.
If it works for you, great. Like you said, if it doesn't work for you, at least you know. And
Exactly.
at least you're educating yourself as to, okay, this is an option or isn't an option based on what I know for a fact, rather than just what I'm guessing blindly at. So what kind of prompted that? Like that evolution into chapter 2 or whatever chapter it is?
So in 2021, me and my wife, we acquired 15 short-term rentals, so 15 Airbnbs. And because we were doing a lot of wholesaling and fix and flips, so massive income strategies. And I was like, I need to get some passive income. So we learned how to do the short-term rentals, the Airbnbs. And so at that point, it was like we had enough passive income coming in that we didn't have to work if we didn't want to. So that dramatically changed everything, because, and now obviously if we wanted, I mean, if I have like a perfect, like as far as like having private jets, obviously we need to do some more, and I'm still planning to work. Right. But the thing is that the sheer fact that we work because we want to, not because we have to, has dramatically changed our own mindset. And so it's like us being able to go on the trips we want to go on, drive the cars we drive, has been a huge blessing. And because it's changed our lives so dramatically, I want to do what I can to help someone else that's in similar situations. I've had people come talk to me. I used to be their boss at Walmart, and they're like, Jared, I want to know what you're doing. And I was like, okay, well, great. Come check this out. I mean, I'll plug in the same system that taught me. And I've been doing that, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, so really this past year, especially, we've really been focusing on helping other people get going and starting, because it's rewarding. It is so rewarding to see them. Like I had my friend Nancy, I used to be her boss, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I was a good boss or not, but she she asked me about this, and I was like, yeah, let's get going. And she got started. And when she looked me in the eyes after she started to get going, she got her first transaction. She says, Jared, I'm finally been able to dream again. I mean, that was that. I mean, it was cool, like help other people. But when I heard that particular moment, that was like, it just gave me a bigger push or bigger why just to do that, because it's almost sad. I'm a firm believer that we live in the best country in the world, whether people believe me or not. I believe in that. And it's sad that us having all of these opportunities to live in this great country, it's not perfect, but this great country, and they're not capitalizing or even know how to get them the best out of getting this country. And so what happens, what I've noticed is that people, when you're 12, when you and I were 12, we had these massive dreams, just massive. Just like I wanted to be, I want to do this. I'm going to fly in a jet. I want to retire my parents, whatever it was. But what happens is then we become early 20s and you start getting a family or whatever it may be. And suddenly our dreams are, for the listeners, dreams are very large and our income is about, a quarter of that. So what happens? People naturally just start to chip away at their dreams to fit their income. So when I'm talking to people about their dreams, they're like, I just need to pay next month's rent. That's my dream right now. That's where I'm at. Like I don't care about a trip. I don't care about a house. I just need to make sure that I don't get kicked out in the street. Like that's their dream, which is sad. And so if I can help anyone actually like focus and like, what was your dream? What are you passionate about? If you had no passive income coming in, would you be able to do more of that? And so having those type of conversations with these people and with anyone, and actually seeing that light, the vision, especially when they get it, that's the best thing in the world. That right there, that's like it's really, really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I've talked about this too. Like if when you're whatever 7, 8, 9, 12 years old, you're right. You have these huge dreams. Like they're those. Everyone talks about like self-limiting beliefs. When you're 12, you don't have those. It's like I can do whatever I want. The world is wide open. And then as you get older, it's like society starts to kind of push in on you.
Yeah.
But you have these huge dreams when you're that age. And I tell people all the time, like, hey, look, knowing that your 12-year-old self is sitting back in the past somewhere, and they had all these dreams about like their life and the vacations and the memories and all this stuff that they were going to do.
Yeah.
So if your 12-year-old self came to you right now today and saw what you were doing, would they look at you and say, hey, good job, you're kind of doing what we imagined? Or would they look at you and go, what are you doing? Because I guarantee 90% of people, that kid looks at them and goes, I don't remember this dream. Like, right. I don't remember this vision of what we're doing right now. So, and to hear you talk about the ex-employee who's like, I can dream again. I think it's twofold. One, it's that it was a she.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. One, that she can dream again, but two, what allows her to dream again is now she's got an outlet that she can actually see herself doing those things. It's not the paying rent next month or whatever. She's dreaming of these things because now it's like she's got a source that is going to allow her to actually get those things and make them a reality rather than just, I'm glad you didn't say vision board, because that bucket list resolutions just you can throw them all away, because people put on vision boards whatever, and it's usually like some huge house and Ferrari and oceans and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? Like what
how are you getting it?
How are you getting this?
Yep.
Or how many years have you just looked at this, and come the new year, all you've done is tear off the year, put a new year on, and there it is. Same thing with bucket list. Resolutions are completely, they're pointless, and yet some of the biggest names out there, they always do it every single January. Make 2023 your best year ever. Next year, guess what? make 2024 your best year ever. It's like, okay, but like, how about just continuing to grow and evolve? And
Exactly.
what does a date on a calendar that you get from Hallmark, what does it matter? It's like, it doesn't matter. Who says that you have to wait until then? I mean, why not?
Totally.
Why not August 1st? And if it helps you, I guarantee you can find someone that will print you a calendar that has August 1st as the first day of the year. There, you feel better. You set a New Year's resolution on August 1st because that's the first day of your
Right.
new year. So,
And I agree with you. Like a lot of people, they'll put and these are the analysis paralysis people, where even if they're looking for real estate, for example, because that's my field, I've seen so many people that go to real estate forums and they go there to die because they just talk about real estate every waking second. They just talk about I want to do wholesaling, but they've taken zero action because they're getting ready to get ready. And I think you're 100% right. You got people that are making $20,000 a year or $50,000 a year, and they put a yacht on their vision board. Like, I don't care how much you believe in vibrations or whatever. That's not going to happen. You got to put things that make sense. And like, so I do have a vision board, but my vision board is more of like a goal board and it's visualization. So it's like I have a date when I'm achieving them, and it's like it's not in 10 years. It's like this is happening this year and how I'm going to achieve it. So
yeah,
I'm going to achieve X amount of money by doing A, B, and C, and so I think people are use vision boards the wrong way. The same way as if writing down your goals. That's the step in the right direction, right? But I think there's so many people with this analysis paralysis that I agree with you 100%. They could throw a picture up there. If that's all you're doing, man, I mean, you might just put a picture of your family instead. It's going to do you just better if you did that.
yeah, and you're exactly right. Like, it's if you're going to do a vision board, a bucket list, or whatever goals,
Right.
whatever, it's fine whatever you put up there, as long as right behind that you've got, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Right.
And if you have a plan together, then at the end of each year you get to actually like live in the house that
Mhm.
you've got up there, or you get to take that vacation, or you get to never go to the airport again because you're flying private everywhere,
Right.
or whatever it is. um as long as you have, and that's the thing that people lack. It's like, they
Mhm.
put all the stuff up there and they're like, oh, it's a vision, but it's not a vision board, it's a dream board.
That's
Just
right.
like, it's not a bucket list, it's a dream list.
Yeah.
And it's like, if all the stars align and you win the Powerball, you can probably do a couple of those things. But
Exactly.
let's face it, Powerball is not a plan. No matter how many times you see people buying same people buying the tickets. uh,
Exactly.
but to your point, like, if it is like an achievement board and you've got the planning behind it, and you've got the growth plan, right? Like,
Right.
this is what I'm going to do this year, and then once I get this, that gets replaced with a level up. Like, what's next? What's
Absolutely.
for that?
And
And that's what life's about. It's just constantly growing,
mm,
and evolving as just people and human beings. We were not meant to be stagnant beings, and unfortunately, a lot of society actually is, because
yeah.
growth is hard and it can be uncomfortable. But if you're uncomfortable, you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because
Right.
that's where your growth actually happens. It's not when you're comfortable.
Absolutely. And even yeah, nail in the head. That's perfectly said. I love all of that. You gotta I call embrace the suck because I know I'm gonna whenever I'm doing something new, I know I'm gonna suck at it. The first time I knocked on a door to buy someone's house or to see if they wanted to sell it, I was terrible, dude. The first phone call, it was just literally I was so nervous, I was sweating bullets. I mean, it was God, I wish I would have recorded it because it would have been good to kind of see how terrible it was. But the cool thing is, like, even with like vision boards or if it's done correctly, I when I achieve those things, because I put them up there to achieve it, not just look at it, right? So when I achieve it, I actually have a little like achievement drawer where I pull them off easily. And so whenever I'm doubting myself or whenever everyone gets those moments, right?
Mhm.
So me, it's just like I'm thinking like maybe I am just I'm no I'm maybe I should just go back to Walmart. What are those stupid thoughts we get in our head, right? And then I open that drawer and I look at the things that I've achieved. It's like, oh, you know what? If I was able to do that, I'm so much further along, and I just need to go this much more to get this next thing. Then yeah, there's no reason why not. I mean, even in it was funny like in 2020 when everything was gone to crap, when everyone was so pessimistic, and I was still going, and I literally have on my wall, I got the 20 deals we did in 2020, and it's just like that was the hardest time people said to do the stuff, and look what we did. Not because I'm awesome. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I'm saying this, it's like it's a proof. It's that achievement board kind of a thing, right? Not so much what my kids get, but it's like more for me. It's proof in the pudding. Because sometimes I need a reminder that I'm actually competent in certain things, because my self-doubt, the everything else comes in, and having those reminders have been, for me personally, been massively helpful.
Yeah, and it's a couple things like, um, a lot of the most successful people out there, they are contrarians. They buy when everyone else is selling.
Yeah.
They're expanding when everyone else is contracting, and that attitude puts them leaps and heads above everything because
Yeah.
as people are selling, they're like, yeah, here, crap, take it. And then 6 months later, a year later, they're like, oh man, I should have just, what am I doing? And, it's because they're contrarians. But
Yeah.
just a side note and a very funny story, because the term you used, embrace the suck, that's the second time in my life I've actually heard that said. First time I was in North Carolina at my son. He was trying out for Team USA baseball. This is about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's July, it's middle of North Carolina. So it's like 95 and humid as crap. And one morning we're there, it's 80 degrees. The sun is behind the kind of the morning fog or whatever. It
Yeah.
was nice. It was like, oh, this is going to be a good day. And then all of a sudden the sun got a little higher, and then you saw the fog just melt away. And you felt immediately this heat and sweat and humidity. And this dad that I had been hanging out with, I just looked over at him, and he looked at me and said exactly what you did. He goes, "Yep, embrace the suck." And I was like, "Yep, we're all going to be sweaty and stinking by the end of this game." So,
Right. Well,
uh,
and when you think about it, like people, the fear people face when they're doing something new is because they don't know, they don't want to feel, they don't want to be judged by other people. Like I think fear of judgment is probably the number one fear, honestly. Because so if you know that you're gonna suck, if you acknowledge it, because everyone knows that, but no one acknowledges it. If you know when you're doing something new, you're gonna suck, it makes things a lot easier to suck. And that means that's just that much closer to be exceptional at it.
mhm.
And that's the thing. If you really like embrace, it's like that dad, like we're gonna be sweating balls here in a minute, so let's just
Yeah,
take it,
like, yeah.
nothing
It
you
was
do about
like,
it.
all right, well, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, well, let's just, here's gonna go. I'm gonna knock on this door, and this guy's gonna think I'm an idiot, and that's okay because that's his opinion. That's fine. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's I think getting that through, like, and having a belief on it, like, I know it's gonna suck, and that's okay because this is next step on.
Mhm.
It's with fear in general. Like I remember learning to drive. We all remember learning how to drive, and the first time going to the freeway, I was terrified, sweating
Oh,
bullets, just white knuckling on the steering wheel. And now I'm like eating a burrito, putting a mascara on, and then just getting to the freeway at the same time. I'm kidding
wait,
about the mascara part, but
wait. Yeah, I was gonna say, who's putting mascara
I know.
on?
But I've seen ladies like they're putting on some makeup, but they're
Yeah,
going to the freeway. It's like, okay, all right.
yeah.
But it's not scary because we've done it 100 times. It's the same thing with anything new. Like we know we're gonna get to that point. If we have that vision in place, it's not as scary.
Yeah, and that's what, and with that, and anytime you go into something new, one of the things I stress to people is like your goals are your goals,
Yeah.
so they should not be shared to everyone, because all you're doing is like, now you're going to have family and friends and people that you don't know all saying that's a terrible idea. And so the best, it's a little saying I have on my wall over here. It's like, grow in silence let the results speak for themselves.
I
And
like
it's
that.
true, because it's like, if you go into it and you know it's not going to be good the first couple times, the first 5 times, the first 10 times,
Yeah.
each time you're getting a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable, and you're growing, but no one's standing there watching you like stumble over words in
Mhm.
someone's house, or make a phone call and you drop your phone because you're shaking or something like that. Like,
Right.
no one sees that. But the better you get, the more success you have, they will notice your success,
Oh
and they'll
yeah.
be like, what did you do? And that's up to you. You can just be like, I set a plan and I stuck to it, and it took me a year. That's the fact that you said it was a year. That's a great way to look at it. Like, if you're going to retool yourself or do something different, you need a year.
Yeah.
And you need to be, your superpowers are consistency and dedication. And if you employ those two superpowers for a year, you're going to be successful.
Oh yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that is, and I wish I would have heard that phrase when I first started, by the way, because I told people, everyone, what I was, 'cause I was so excited about this new opportunity to, like, guys, do you know you can invest in real estate without using your money? They're like, scam, and it's just, and I couldn't tell you the skepticism, and or even without, like, creative financing you're doing traditionally, whatever it was, people are looking at them like, yeah, I want to buy rentals eventually and do fix and flips. I've had people that were once my friends just belly laugh, like out, like no talk behind my back, no, like straight to my face is belly laugh, and like, that's no way you're gonna do that, never, no way, that's not people like you, you're not, you weren't born into that, you were blah blah blah, whatever limited belief they believe on that, and it hurt it really is like, some of those things really kind of hit home, like maybe they're right,
Mm-hmm.
and so if I would have been more silent on it and just started just to start doing action, it probably would have been less painful. I mean, thank goodness I didn't let them affect me as well enough to stop.
Right.
But I think that's strong advice. Talk to the people that are, because here's the thing. If I'm talking to a real estate investor and telling them what I want to do, they're going to give me, like, that's awesome, man. If I talk to my broke uncle, he's like, oh, don't do it, you'll lose all your money. Like, well, why am I taking advice from my broke uncle when I'm getting advice from this multimillionaire over here? It's just, you got to learn. If you're not willing to trade places with them in that category, especially that you're doing it in, you know, it's it's not wise to take their advice, to say the least.
No, it's the old saying: if you want to be a millionaire, hang out with other millionaires. And
Facts.
at some point, all of us, if we truly choose to go on a growth path,
Yeah.
and to level up our lives, and oh god, it was the guy on Suits, Harvey Specter, like the
Hmm.
lead guy. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like he's like, most people live here, I like it up here. And if that's what you're going for, is not being better than, just like
Right.
having all this stuff at your disposal because you're really good at something. And if you're really good at something, don't do it for free.
Right.
That's key guidance. But as you're doing that, you're going to have to look hard at the circle of people that you're hanging out with,
Yeah.
because you don't want like 5 people that are there, and one of them is the person that's constantly just talking about, like, no, you need to come back down to earth, and you need to go back to Walmart, or
Hmm.
you need to get a 9 to 5 job or whatever. That's the person that's gonna just, that constant voice is gonna do more damage than good. And
100%.
ultimately, you just need to find your circle. I'm not saying you ditch them as a friend. I'm just saying you don't talk business or what you're doing with them. And you can go to whatever, if you're going to go and eat chicken wings, you can talk about the Utah Jazz, or
Right.
the world champion Denver Nuggets. But
Yeah.
leave that aside.
Love it.
Shameless plug. So
Well, you're so right. And I saw this dramatically, like, firsthand, from hanging around with my Walmart friends, amazing people, by the way, which it's hard to deny. They're really good people, good hearted, but they have a certain mindset and limitations that's kind of held them back for most of their life. And I didn't really notice until after I left Walmart, but there's a lot of negativity just in general. And again, I'm not trying to disparage people there or Walmart in general, but there's a lot of negativity about almost a little bit of everything. You go in the break room and it's always someone griping about something. They're not happy about this. They're not happy. The boss said this and this. And when I finally left that, it was like, because it wasn't just night and day. Like, so as I was going to networking groups and meeting these millionaires or even the people that are doing really well, making $300,000 a year, doing flips or whatever, and meeting these people, like they gave such massive different type of energy, different type of ideas and suggestions. And it dramatically changed how I thought, how I saw the world in relatively a short period of time. And you're right, I did have to limit a lot of my relationships with certain type of people. And sometimes that's a good thing, depending on how you look at it, right? But even with my family members that are a little bit negative, I've just not disown them, but to spend less time with them. And maybe it was, then we were like talking about the jazz or whatever, not talking about business or money or this, where they have the big mindsets. And me doing that was probably one of the biggest change for me, because I was a go-getter. I was really, I'm zero problems putting myself to work. Even I joke about me being lazy, but I have zero problems about going to work. And being with these guys, it's just dramatically changed everything for me as far as like what they're willing to share. And even like these guys that have so much and they're willing to give so much, it's just blew me away. Like, and my mom would teach me, like, she wouldn't say this, whether, consciously or not, like, if you're rich, you're a bad person. And that was her limited mindset. And so being around people that were really good people, I learned that money is just a magnifier. If you're a good person when you're poor, you're going to be a charitable person when you're poor, willing to, serve or whatever. You're going to have so much more resources to do that. So you're going to be even more so. If you're a dick when you're broke, you'll be a bigger dick when you're not. Or, you know what I mean? So it doesn't make you bad, good or evil. It's just whatever you are magnifies it. That's all it does.
Yeah. And that's exactly what, like, Steve Harvey said, that exact same thing. Like, people think that money's the root of all evil or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, nah, he's like, if you were one way before you had money, you're just going to be more of that way when you have money. So
exactly.
It's, if you're giving and you're charitable and you're a decent human, it's just going to accentuate that. Mm-hmm. And the same vice versa. Like, if you're just not, nothing's going to change now that you've got money. You're just going to be like, now everyone you think is beneath you and stuff. Right. You're going to have a different attitude about it. But, and it's sad, like, I think it's not just like obviously with your example being within Walmart, but just within society, like, when people don't have that growth mindset and they are, kind of the finger pointing type, like something always is they're complaining about. The problem with it is they can't be happy. They can't be unhappy alone. So that's why they talk about stuff and they share it in break rooms and share it in grocery stores and whatever, is because they want company in their unhappiness. And that's a difficult challenge, especially if you're trying to make that change, is you got to get out of those conversations. And a very important thing is just remember, like, no response is a response. And so if someone starts down that path and you're wanting something different, just get out of the situation. Just leave yourself out of the situation. Right. Go focus on something positive or someone positive, instead of dwelling in them trying to spread their gray cloud or whatever.
No, I love that. I love that 100%. And you're right. People, it didn't really, until you said that, I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But people cannot be unhappy alone. They need to be unhappy with other people. And if they're happy, they're going to bring it down. And I'm amazed on how many people will fight for their limited beliefs, to say the least, right? How just by me buying a property off market, I'm evil. And I've had people tell me that, like, what are you talking about? We're taking advantage of people. Like, how am I taking advantage of them? Like, if they're hugging me and they're in tears at the closing table, how in the world am I taking advantage of them? If they're walking with money in their hand and they're ecstatic, their credit's not destroyed because they would have had a foreclosure on the record. That's not there anymore. If they have money in hand, if I wouldn't have came along, they would have lost everything. And they would took them like 7 to 10 years to get that foreclosure off the record for them to buy another house. They,
Mhm.
I gave them enough money for the down payment of their next house if they needed to once they get the job or whatever it was that they're down their luck on. And so it amazes me where people are just like, oh, they're making money, they must be doing something wrong, which is just blows me away. That and people will fight the tooth and nail, whether they're insulting or whatever it is. I've seen that ton of social media, which you shouldn't put too much credit in that, but it's just amazes me. Like when I'm just posting things on groups and like, hey guys, I'm doing a real estate seminar, come check it out, and I would get the haters. Just blows me away. Like you don't have to come if you don't want to, you know. So
Right.
it
I
just
don't
blows me away.
do without the comment, but you could just say no. And
Yeah, exactly. It's just like
no
you know what I
problem.
mean.
Yeah.
But
So
it's good. They're on, and I love them. People, I love them where they're at. Right. I understand in many places. Like my mom had the same limited belief as far as if you're rich, you're probably not a good person.
mhm.
My mom's not a bad person for thinking that. She's just wrong. But
Yeah.
still, it's just a different mindset, different limited belief, and it just shows a little bit of ignorance and that. But the thing is, like that, I think that sign, what you said before, like the grow in silence and the show. What was it? What is it? Grow in silence, and what's the rest of it?
Grow in silence, let the results speak for themselves.
Let the results speak themselves. I think that's powerful. That is very. I really like that a lot.
Cool. I'll after this, I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to you. But
That'd be amazing. I love
hey,
that.
Jared, I appreciate it. We're done for the night.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming on. For the audience out there, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Thanks, man.